Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Dakota, staring at the endless stars through the massive viewing window. The silence of deep space surrounded his ship like a cold blanket. He had been out here for 3 months, patrolling the outer edge of human territory. It was lonely work, but someone had to watch for trouble. The Dakota was not like other human ships. It was sleeker, faster, and packed with weapons that most captains could only dream about. The ship's hull gleamed silver in the starlight, and its engines hummed with quiet power. Morrison had commanded her for 2 years now, and he knew every bolt and wire in her frame. "Captain, we're getting a signal," said Kevin Walsh from his station. Kevin was young, maybe 25, with red hair and quick fingers that danced over his controls. He had been with Morrison for 6 months and never missed a transmission. Morrison turned away from the window, put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was filled with panic and static. "This is New Austin Colony under attack. Massive alien fleet. Please, anyone who can hear this." The transmission cut to static, then came back. "They're everywhere. Thousands of ships. Our defenses are failing. 2 million people here. Children, please help us." Morrison felt his stomach drop. New Austin was a farming colony. Peaceful people who grew food for the inner worlds. They had basic shields and a few patrol boats. Nothing that could stop a real attack. "Kevin, how far are we from New Austin?" Morrison asked. Kevin's fingers flew over his keyboard. "4 hours at maximum speed, sir." "And how long until the nearest human fleet can get there?" Kevin checked again, his face growing pale. 3 days, Captain. The nearest fleet is 3 days away." Morrison closed his eyes for a moment. 3 days might as well be 3 years. If aliens were attacking New Austin, the colony would be dead in hours, not days. "Lisa, what's our weapon status?" He called to his chief engineer. Lisa Hayes looked up from her station. She was a small woman with dark hair and oil stains on her uniform. She knew the Dakota's systems better than anyone alive. "All weapons ready, Captain. The new quantum torpedoes are loaded and tested." "Ben, how many ships are we talking about?" Morrison asked his weapons officer. Ben Parker was studying the weak signals coming from New Austin. He was a big man with steady hands and eyes that never missed a target. "Hard to tell from here, sir, but the colony's last sensor reading showed over 10,000 ships." The bridge went quiet. 10,000 ships. Morrison had never heard of a fleet that large. The biggest human fleet had maybe 500 ships. 10,000 was impossible to fight. "Captain," said Amy Rodriguez from the navigation station. Amy was the best pilot Morrison had ever seen. She could make the Dakota dance through space like it was alive. "We can't fight 10,000 ships. It's suicide." Morrison knew she was right. 1 ship against 10,000 was not a battle, it was execution. But he kept thinking about the voice on the radio. 2 million people. Children hiding in shelters while alien ships burned their world. He walked to the center of the bridge and looked at his crew. These 4 people had been with him through battles with pirates and raiders. They trusted him, and he trusted them with his life. "I know the odds," Morrison said quietly. "I know what we're facing, but those people have no one else. The fleet can't reach them in time." Kevin looked up from his station. "Captain, the colony just sent another transmission. It's weak. Put it through." This time the voice was barely a whisper. "They're breaking through our shields, hitting the surface now. Anyone out there, please." The transmission died completely. Morrison felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. He had been a soldier for 15 years. He had seen colonies burn before. He had arrived too late to save people, found nothing but empty ruins and graves. He would not let it happen again. "Amy, set course for New Austin. Maximum speed." Amy's hands moved to her controls, then stopped. "Captain, are you sure about this?" Morrison looked at each of his crew members. Lisa's face was worried, but determined. Ben was checking his weapons one more time. Kevin was already trying to boost their communications. Amy was waiting for his final word. "I'm sure," Morrison said. "Those people are counting on us. We're all they have." Amy nodded, and her hands flew over the controls. The Dakota's engines roared to life, pushing the ship faster than it had ever gone before. The stars began to blur as they jumped to hyperspace. Morrison sat in his captain's chair and opened a channel to the entire ship. All hands. This is the captain. We are heading to defend New Austin Colony against overwhelming odds. I won't lie to you. We are one ship facing thousands. But we are not just any ship. We are the Dakota. And we have never backed down from a fight. He paused, thinking of the right words. The colony has 2 million civilians who need our help. The fleet cannot reach them in time. We are their only hope. I know this is dangerous. I know the odds are against us. But we are human, and humans do not abandon each other. The ship hummed around them as they raced through space toward New Austin. Morrison looked at his crew and saw no fear in their eyes, only determination. They were ready to face the impossible. For hours, they would drop out of hyperspace and face the largest alien fleet ever assembled. In 4 hours, they would discover what one human ship could do against 10,000 enemies. In 4 hours, everything would change. The Dakota dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light. Morrison's stomach lurched as the ship returned to normal space. Through the viewing window, he could see the New Austin system spread out before them. What he saw made his blood run cold. The space around New Austin was filled with alien ships. They stretched in every direction like a swarm of angry insects. Morrison had seen battle fleets before, but nothing like this. The alien vessels came in dozens of different shapes and sizes. Some were long and thin like needles. Others were round and fat like balloons. The largest ones were bigger than space stations. "My God," whispered Amy from her pilot station. "There are so many of them." Ben was studying his weapon sensors, his face grim. "I count over 9,000 ships still active." "Captain, they've got fighters, cruisers, and at least 50 of those. Big ones." Morrison could see the remains of New Austin's orbital defenses floating in space. Twisted metal and debris marked where the colony's few patrol ships had made their last stand. The aliens had swept them aside like dust. "Kevin, are you getting anything from the surface?" Morrison asked. Kevin shook his head, his young face pale. "Nothing, sir. All the communication towers are down. But life signs show people are still alive down there. They're hiding in underground shelters." Morrison felt a spark of hope. If people were still alive, there was still time. "Lisa, I need everything we've got. Can you boost our weapons?" Lisa was already working at her station, her fingers flying over the controls. "I've been thinking about this, Captain. These quantum torpedoes can create chain reactions if they hit the right targets. If we can get multiple alien ships close together, one torpedo might take out 10 or 20 ships." "That's still not enough," Ben said quietly. "Even if every shot takes out 20 ships, we'd need hundreds of perfect shots." Morrison studied the alien fleet through the window. The ships were spread out in a loose formation around the planet. They seemed confident, moving slowly like they had all the time in the world. They probably thought no human ship would be crazy enough to attack them. "Amy, take us into that asteroid field," Morrison ordered, pointing to a cluster of rocks floating near the planet. Amy looked surprised. "Captain, that field is dangerous. The rocks are moving fast, and some of them are huge." "That's exactly what I want," Morrison said. "The aliens won't expect us to hide in there, and we can use those rocks as weapons." Amy nodded and turned the Dakota toward the asteroid field. The ship moved smoothly between the floating rocks, some as small as cars, others as big as buildings. Morrison could see alien ships turning to follow them, but they were being careful, staying away from the dangerous asteroids. "Lisa, can you target those big asteroids?" Morrison asked. Lisa checked her screens. "Yes, sir. If we hit them with low power shots, we can knock them toward the alien ships." "Do it." The Dakota's weapons fired, not at the alien ships, but at the asteroids around them. The rocks began moving faster, spinning toward the alien formation like huge stone bullets. The aliens tried to dodge, but asteroids were hard to see on their sensors until it was too late. Morrison watched as a rock the size of a building smashed into an alien cruiser. The ship crumpled like paper and exploded in a ball of fire. More asteroids followed, each one guided by Lisa's precise shots. 30 ships down, Ben reported. "But they're getting smart. They're moving away from the asteroid field." Morrison smiled grimly. Then we follow them. Amy, take us out of the rocks. Time to really fight. The Dakota burst from the asteroid field like a hunting cat. Morrison could see the alien ships turning to face them, their weapons charging up with strange, colored lights. Incoming fire, Ben warned. The first alien shots hit the Dakota's shields in bursts of green and purple energy. The ship shook, but the shields held. Amy was already moving, turning and diving to avoid the next wave of shots. Fire quantum torpedoes, Morrison ordered. Ben's finger pressed the firing button. 6 torpedoes shot from the Dakota like silver lightning. They spread out as they flew, each one heading for a different group of alien ships. The first torpedo hit a cluster of small fighters. Instead of just destroying one ship, it created a chain reaction. Energy jumped from ship to ship like electricity, and suddenly 20 fighters were exploding at once. The other torpedoes found their targets. Each explosion spread to nearby ships, creating waves of destruction that rippled through the alien formation. In 30 seconds, over 100 alien ships were gone. The remaining alien ships seemed confused. They had never seen weapons like this before. Morrison could see them trying to spread out, but Amy was already moving the Dakota to a new position. They're trying to surround us, Amy called out, her hands dancing over the controls. Let them try. Morrison said, Kevin, can you jam their communications? Kevin was working frantically at his station. I'm trying, sir, but their signals are on frequencies I've never seen before. The alien ships were closing in from all sides now. Morrison could see hundreds of them, their weapons glowing as they prepared to fire all at once. Lisa, what's our shield status? Holding at 80%. But if they all fire together? Morrison made a quick decision. Amy, full speed toward that big ship in the center. The one with all the antennas. Amy looked at him like he was crazy. Captain, that's their command ship. It's got the heaviest weapons and the strongest shields. Exactly. Morrison said, if we can take out their leader, the rest might panic. The Dakota shot forward like an arrow, weaving between alien ships that were trying to block their path. Ben fired continuously, his quantum torpedoes clearing a corridor through the enemy formation. Morrison could see the alien command ship growing larger in the window. It was massive, covered in weapon ports and communication arrays. This close, he could see smaller ships docked to its sides like parasites. All weapons on that command ship, Morrison ordered. The Dakota unleashed everything it had. Quantum torpedoes, energy beams, and kinetic rounds all struck the alien flagship at once. But the big ship's shields were strong. The attacks created pretty light shows but did no real damage. We need more power, Ben said. Lisa looked up from her station. Captain, I have an idea. It's dangerous, but it might work. If I overload our main reactor just a little, I can boost our weapons to 3 times normal power. Do it, Morrison said without hesitation. The Dakota shuddered as Lisa pushed the reactor beyond its safety limits. Warning lights flashed all over the bridge, and Morrison could smell something burning. Reactor at 150%, Lisa reported. We can't hold this for long. Fire everything, Morrison commanded. This time, when the Dakota's weapons hit the alien command ship, the massive vessel's shields flickered and died. The quantum torpedoes punched through the hull like it was made of paper. The command ship began to break apart, its pieces spinning away into space. Suddenly, the other alien ships stopped firing. They seemed lost, confused without their leaders. Orders? Kevin, are you getting their transmissions now? Kevin listened to his headphones. Yes, sir. They're asking for orders, but no one is answering. I think we got their admiral. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. They had destroyed over 1,000 alien ships and knocked out the enemy commander. It was a good start, but when he looked out the window, he could see thousands of alien ships still floating in space around them. The battle was far from over. The alien fleet was in chaos, without their command ship telling them what to do. Thousands of alien vessels drifted in space like confused animals. Some fired randomly at the Dakota. Others tried to group together. Many just sat still, waiting for orders that would never come. Morrison knew this confusion would not last long. Soon, Another alien leader would take control, and the fleet would organize again. He had to use this time wisely. "Ben, how many ships have we destroyed?" Morrison asked. Ben checked his screens. "About 1,500, sir. That leaves over 8,000 still active." Morrison nodded. They had made good progress, but 8,000 ships could still destroy them easily if they worked together. "Lisa, how are our systems holding up?" Lisa wiped sweat from her forehead. The overloaded reactor was making the ship very hot. "The reactor is stable for now, but we can't keep pushing it like this. And we're down to 60% on quantum torpedoes." Morrison thought quickly. They needed a new strategy. Fighting ship by ship would take too long, and they would run out of weapons before the aliens ran out of ships. "Kevin, are you still listening to their communications?" Kevin nodded, his headphones pressed tight to his ears. "Yes, sir. There's a lot of chatter. Different groups are trying to take command, but they're arguing with each other." "What are they saying?" Kevin listened for a moment. "One group wants to retreat. Another wants to attack us directly. A third group is saying they should spread out so our chain weapons can't hit multiple ships." Morrison smiled. The aliens were learning about human tactics, but they were also dividing themselves. "Amy, can you get us closer to that big group over there?" He pointed to about 500 alien ships clustered together near the planet. Amy studied the formation. "I can do it, Captain, but they'll see us coming. I'm counting on it." Morrison said, "I want them to see us." The Dakota moved toward the alien cluster, its engines glowing bright blue against the black of space. As Amy had predicted, the aliens saw them coming. The cluster began to spread out, trying to avoid the chain reaction weapons they had learned to fear. But Morrison was not planning to use the quantum torpedoes this time. "Lisa, remember what you said about interference patterns when multiple ships fire at once?" Lisa looked up from her station. "Yes, sir. When lots of alien ships shoot at the same time, their energy beams interfere with each other. It creates dead zones where the beams cancel out. Can you map those dead zones?" Lisa's fingers flew over her controls. "I think so, sir. Give me a minute." Her screen filled with lines and numbers as she calculated the alien weapon patterns. "Got it. Captain, if they all fire at us from their current positions, there will be safe spots here, and here." She marked 3 locations on the navigation display. Morrison turned to Amy. "Can you put us in those safe spots?" Amy grinned. "Just watch me." "Captain." The Dakota accelerated toward the alien formation. As expected, all 500 ships opened fire at once. The space around the Dakota filled with green and purple energy beams, so many that they looked like a deadly rainbow. But Amy was ready. Following Lisa's calculations, she flew the Dakota through the exact spots where the alien beams canceled each other out. The ship danced between the energy blasts, like it was performing a ballet in space. The aliens could not believe what they were seeing. They were firing hundreds of weapons at one small ship, but somehow none of their shots were hitting. "Now, Ben," Morrison ordered. Ben fired the Dakota's weapons, not at the alien ships, but at the space around them. The energy beams struck floating debris and small asteroids, heating them until they glowed white-hot. These burning objects flew toward the alien ships like hundreds of tiny suns. The aliens tried to shoot down the burning debris, but there were too many pieces. The hot metal struck their hulls and melted through their armor. Ships began exploding as their fuel tanks caught fire. 300 ships down, Ben reported with satisfaction. But the remaining alien ships were learning. They stopped firing all at once and began taking turns. This made Lisa's interference calculations useless. "We need something new," Morrison said. Kevin suddenly looked up from his communications station. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange. There's another alien fleet coming this way." Morrison felt his heart sink. "How many ships?" "I can't tell yet, sir. They're still far away. But the aliens here are getting excited about it. They're calling it the Death Fleet." Morrison looked out at the thousands of alien ships still surrounding them. If reinforcements arrived, the battle would be hopeless. "How long until this Death Fleet gets here?" he asked. Kevin listened to the alien chatter. "About 2 hours, sir. 2 hours. Morrison realized they had to end this battle before the new fleet arrived. But how do you destroy 8,000 ships in 2 hours, Lisa? What would happen if we overloaded our reactor completely? Lisa's face went pale. Captain, that would destroy the ship. The explosion would be huge. But would it be big enough to damage the alien fleet? Lisa thought for a moment. Maybe, sir. If we were in the middle of their formation when it happened. But we would all die. Morrison nodded slowly. He had hoped it would not come to this. But he was running out of options. The people of New Austin were depending on them. 2 million lives hung in the balance. There has to be another way, Amy said quietly. Morrison was about to answer when Kevin jumped up from his station. Captain, wait, I'm getting something from the alien communications. They're talking about their fuel ships. Fuel ships? Kevin listened carefully. Yes, sir. They have special ships that carry fuel for the whole fleet. The aliens are worried because they've been fighting for hours and their fuel is getting low. Ben looked interested. Where are these fuel ships? Kevin worked at his station. According to their transmissions, there are 12 fuel ships hiding behind that moon over there. He pointed to New Austin's small moon. Morrison felt hope rising in his chest. If we could destroy their fuel ships, the whole fleet would be stranded here, Lisa finished. They couldn't chase us or attack the colony. But we'd have to get past thousands of ships to reach that moon, Amy pointed out. Morrison looked at his crew. Ben was checking his weapons. Lisa was calculating flight paths. Kevin was monitoring alien communications. Amy was studying the route to the moon. These four people had already done the impossible. They had destroyed over 2,000 alien ships and thrown the enemy fleet into confusion. If anyone could reach those fuel ships, it was them. Amy, plot a course to that moon. Maximum speed. Amy's hands moved over her controls. Course plotted. Captain. Lisa, give me everything the reactor has. We're going to need it. Lisa nodded and began pushing the reactor even harder. The ship's lights flickered as power flowed to the engines and weapons. Ben, save our quantum torpedoes. We'll need them. For the fuel ships, Ben armed the ship's most powerful weapons. Ready, Captain. Kevin, keep listening to their communications. I want to know if they figure out what we're doing. Kevin put his headphones back on. Yes, sir. Morrison took a deep breath. This was the most dangerous thing they had attempted yet. They had to fly through the middle of the alien fleet, reach the hidden moon, and destroy 12 fuel ships before the aliens could stop them. The Dakota turned toward the moon and accelerated to full speed. Around them, alien ships began moving to intercept. Their course, the race for the fuel ships, had begun. The Dakota raced through space toward the hidden moon, with thousands of alien ships chasing behind them. Morrison could see the enemy vessels closing in from all sides, their weapons glowing as they prepared to fire. They know what we're doing. Kevin reported, listening to the alien communications. They're calling all ships to protect the fuel depot. Morrison watched the tactical display as red dots representing alien ships moved to block their path. There were too many of them, even. With all their tricks, the Dakota could not fight through such numbers. Amy, how long until we reach the moon? Morrison asked. Amy checked her navigation screen. 3 minutes at current speed. Captain, and how long until the aliens intercept us? Amy's face was grim. 2 minutes. Morrison felt time running out. In 2 minutes, the Dakota would be surrounded by hundreds of alien ships. They would never reach the fuel depot. Lisa, what's the status on our experimental weapon? Morrison asked. Lisa looked confused. Sir, we don't have any experimental weapons left. The quantum torpedoes are standard now. Morrison shook his head. Not the torpedoes. The other thing you mentioned, the quantum cascade device. Lisa's eyes went wide. Captain, that's not a weapon. It's just a theory. I've been working on it in my spare time, but it's never been tested. What would it do? Lisa hesitated. If it worked, it would create a space-time distortion. Anything caught in the field would be torn apart at the atomic level. But sir, the device could destroy us. Morrison looked at the approaching alien ships. They were running out of options fast. How big would the distortion be? Maybe 10 kilometers across, Lisa said. But Captain, there's no way to control it. Once we activate it, we can't turn it off. Ben looked up from his weapons station. Even if we survive the distortion, we'd have to be right in the middle of the alien formation when it goes off. Morrison understood what that meant. The Dakota would have to fly directly into the center of the enemy fleet and activate a weapon that might destroy them all. How long would it take to build this device? Morrison asked. Lisa was already thinking. I have most of the parts in engineering. Maybe 20 minutes to put it together. We don't have 20 minutes, Amy said. The aliens will catch us in 2 minutes. Morrison made a decision that surprised everyone. Amy, stop the ship. Amy's hands froze over her controls. Sir, stop. The ship, right here, right now. Amy slowly brought the Dakota to a halt in empty space. The alien ships that had been chasing them seemed confused by this sudden move. They slowed down too, forming a circle around the human vessel. Kevin, open a channel to the alien fleet. Kevin looked shocked. Captain, are you surrendering? Not exactly, Morrison said. Just open the channel. Kevin activated the communications system. Morrison stood up and spoke clearly into the microphone. Alien fleet, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the human warship Dakota. I want to speak with your new commander. For a moment, there was only static. Then a harsh voice replied in broken English. Human captain, this is Admiral Zethok. You are surrounded. Surrender now and your death will be quick. Morrison smiled coldly. I have a better idea, Admiral. Single combat. Your best ship against mine. If you win, we surrender. If we win, your fleet leaves this system forever. There was a long pause. Morrison could hear alien voices arguing in the background. You are one ship against thousands. Admiral Zethek finally replied. Why would we accept such terms? Because, Morrison said, your fuel ships are almost empty. Your Death Fleet reinforcements are still hours away. And right now, every second we talk is another second for New Austin's people to prepare their defenses. Morrison was bluffing about the fuel, but Kevin nodded and whispered. He's right about the fuel, Captain. I'm hearing lots of complaints. About low energy reserves, Admiral Zethak spoke again. What makes you think we will honor such an agreement? Because, Morrison said, if you don't, I'll activate a weapon that will destroy your entire fleet and this whole system. You've seen what human technology can do. Do you really want to test our final option? Morrison looked at Lisa and nodded. She understood and ran toward the engineering section to start building the quantum cascade device. There was another long pause. Morrison could imagine the alien commanders arguing about whether to trust him. Very well. Human, Admiral Zethok said finally, single combat. But we choose the battlefield. Agreed, Morrison said. Where? The asteroid field where you first attacked us. And we choose which ship will fight you. Morrison felt a chill. The aliens were being too agreeable. They had something planned. Which ship? Morrison asked. The Void Crusher, our most powerful battleship. Kevin quickly looked up the ship in their database. His face went pale. Captain, the Void Crusher is 3 times our size. It has weapons that can destroy a small moon. Morrison nodded. He had expected this. Tell them we accept. Captain, Amy said quietly. We can't win against that ship in fair combat. Then we won't fight fair, Morrison replied. He activated the ship's internal communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to face the enemy's strongest ship in single combat. I know this sounds impossible, but we have one advantage they don't know about. He paused, thinking of Lisa working frantically in engineering. We have 20 minutes to prepare while we travel to the asteroid field. Use that time wisely. Check your stations, run diagnostics, and prepare for the fight of our lives. We've come this far together. We're not giving up now. Morrison closed the channel and looked at his crew. Amy was plotting the course to the asteroid field. Ben was running weapon checks. Kevin was monitoring alien communications. Kevin, what are they saying? Kevin listened carefully. Admiral Zethok is very confident, sir. He's telling his fleet that the Void Crusher has never lost a battle. The other ships are moving to watch the fight. Morrison sat in his captain's chair as Amy started the engines toward the asteroid field. Through the viewing window, he could see the massive alien battleship moving parallel to them. The Void Crusher was a monster of black metal and glowing weapons. It looked like death itself floating in space. Lisa to bridge. Came a voice over the intercom. "Captain, I'm making progress on the device, but I need more time." "How much more time?" "At least 30 minutes, sir." Morrison calculated quickly. The trip to the asteroid field would take 20 minutes. The battle with the Void Crusher would probably last less than 5 minutes, unless they could stretch it out somehow. "Do your best, Lisa. We'll buy you as much time as we can." Ben looked up from his weapon controls. "Captain, I've been studying the Void Crusher's design. It has thick armor and powerful shields, but it's slow. If we can stay mobile, we might last longer than 5 minutes." Amy nodded. "The asteroid field will help us. That big ship won't be able to move as well between the rocks." Morrison felt a spark of hope. Maybe they could survive long enough for Lisa to finish the quantum cascade device. Maybe they could turn this trap into an opportunity. 15 minutes to the asteroid field, Amy reported. Morrison watched the alien battleship through the window. In 15 minutes, they would face their greatest challenge yet. But they had surprised the aliens before with human determination and clever tactics. The Dakota flew toward its destiny, carrying the hopes of 2 million colonists and the last chance to save New Austin from destruction. The Dakota and the Void Crusher faced each other in the asteroid field. Like to ancient warriors preparing for battle, the alien battleship was enormous, 3 times the size of the human vessel, with weapons that glowed like angry red eyes along its dark hull. Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the massive enemy ship through the viewing window. Around them, thousands of alien vessels had formed a circle to watch the fight. This was their arena, and only one ship would leave it alive. "Lisa, status report." Morrison called over the intercom. 10 more minutes. "Captain," Lisa's voice came back, strained with effort. "I'm working as fast as I can. 10 minutes. Morrison had to keep the Dakota alive for 10 minutes against the most powerful warship in the alien fleet. "Amy, remember what we practiced with the asteroids?" Morrison said quietly. Amy nodded, her hands steady on the controls. "Stay mobile, use the rocks for cover, and never fight fair." "Ben, do we have any weapons that can hurt that monster?" Ben studied the Void Crusher on his targeting screen. "Our quantum torpedoes might damage it, but that armor is incredibly thick. We'll need perfect shots." Kevin looked up from his station. "Captain, they're hailing us." "Put it through." Admiral Zethok's harsh voice filled the bridge. "Human captain, are you ready to die?" Morrison keyed the microphone. "We'll see who dies today, Admiral. Begin." Admiral Zethok commanded. The Void Crusher opened fire immediately. Massive energy beams, each one thicker than the Dakota's entire hull, lanced through space toward the human ship. Amy was ready. She threw the Dakota into a spinning dive that took them behind a house-sized asteroid. Just as the alien weapons fired, the energy beams struck the asteroid and vaporized it instantly. The Dakota flew through the cloud of dust and rock fragments, using them as cover. "Return fire," Morrison ordered. Ben launched 2 quantum torpedoes at the Void Crusher. The weapons struck the alien ship's shields and exploded in brilliant flashes of light. But when the energy faded, the massive battleship was undamaged. "Their shields are too strong," Ben reported. The Void Crusher turned slowly to follow the Dakota's movements. The alien ship was powerful but clumsy, just as Ben had predicted. Amy used this advantage, weaving between asteroids that the larger ship could not follow through. 8 minutes. Lisa's voice crackled over the intercom. Morrison watched the Void Crusher firing again and again, each shot missing the nimble Dakota by meters. But he knew they could not dodge forever. Sooner or later, one of those massive energy beams would find its target. "Captain," Kevin said suddenly, "I'm picking up transmissions from the fuel depot. They're moving the fuel ships." Morrison's heart sank. While they were fighting this single combat, the aliens were protecting their real weakness. "Where are they moving them?" Kevin listened to his headphones. "To the far side of the fleet." Surrounded by escorts, Morrison realized the aliens had played him perfectly. The single combat was just a distraction while they moved their fuel ships to safety. Even if the Dakota somehow survived this fight, they would never reach the fuel depot now. But then Morrison had an idea, a crazy, desperate idea that might just work. "Amy, stop running," Morrison said. Amy looked at him in shock. "Captain, you heard me. Stop the ship, right here in the middle of the asteroid field." Amy reluctantly brought the Dakota to a halt. The Void Crusher, surprised by this sudden change, also stopped firing. Morrison opened the communication channel again. "Admiral Zefok, I want to make you an offer." "You are in no position to make offers, human." "Actually, I am," Morrison said calmly. "You see, while we've been fighting, my engineer has been building something special. A weapon that can destroy every ship in the system, including yours." There was silence from the alien ship. Morrison continued, "I'm going to activate this weapon in exactly 5 minutes. It will kill everyone here, including my own crew. But it will also destroy your entire fleet and save New Austin." "You are bluffing," Admiral Zefok replied. But Morrison could hear uncertainty in the alien's voice. "Am I?" Morrison asked. "You've seen what human weapons can do. You've watched us destroy thousands of your ships with tactics you never imagined. Do you really think we would come this far without a final option?" Morrison looked at his crew. Amy's face was pale but determined. Ben had his hand on the weapon controls, ready for anything. Kevin was monitoring the alien communications with intense focus. For minutes, Morrison announced, "Lisa to bridge." Came the engineer's voice. "Captain, the device is almost ready. But sir, if we activate it, we need to be at the exact center of the alien formation for maximum effect." Morrison smiled. Lisa was playing along perfectly, making sure the aliens heard her report. "Understood, Lisa. Prepare for activation." Admiral Zefok's voice came back, now filled with anger. "Even if you have such a weapon, you will die too." "Yes," Morrison said simply. "But 2 million innocent people will live. That's what humans do, Admiral. We sacrifice ourselves for others." Morrison could hear excited alien voices in the background. The enemy fleet was getting nervous. 3 minutes, Morrison announced. Suddenly, the Void Crusher began moving away from the Dakota. Then another alien ship started to retreat. Then another. Kevin jumped up from his station. "Captain, they're breaking formation. The whole fleet is starting to scatter." Morrison felt hope rising in his chest. The aliens were afraid of the weapon, even though they had never seen it. 2 minutes. Morrison said into the microphone. More alien ships began fleeing. The perfect formation that had surrounded New Austin for hours was falling apart, as thousands of vessels tried to escape the mysterious human weapon. 1 minute. Morrison announced. Admiral Zefok's voice came one last time, filled with rage and fear. "This is not over, human. We will return with more ships." "Maybe," Morrison replied. "But not today." The Void Crusher's engines flared to life, and the massive battleship began accelerating away from the Dakota as fast as its bulk would allow. Morrison waited 30 more seconds, then spoke again. "All alien vessels, you have 10 seconds to begin leaving this system, or I activate the weapon." The effect was immediate. The remaining alien ships that had been hesitating now fled at maximum speed. Within minutes, the space around New Austin was empty except for debris from the earlier battles. Kevin was monitoring communications from across the system. "Captain, they're all running. Even the fuel ships are fleeing toward deep space." Morrison sat back in his captain's chair and let out a long breath. They had done it. They had faced 10,000 alien ships and won. Not through superior firepower, but through courage, cleverness, and the one thing the aliens had never expected from humans, the willingness to die for strangers. "Lisa to bridge," came the engineer's voice, now filled with relief. "Captain, should I shut down the quantum cascade device?" Morrison smiled. "What quantum cascade device, Lisa?" There was a pause, then Lisa's laughter came over the intercom. "Oh, that quantum cascade device. The one that never quite worked. Shutting it down now, sir." Amy turned from her pilot station, grinning. "Captain, we're getting a transmission from New Austin's surface. Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was filled with joy and tears. "Dakota, this is New Austin Colony. We don't know how to thank you. You saved us all. 2 million people owe you their lives." Morrison looked out at the empty space where the alien fleet had been. Just minutes before, floating debris was all that remained of the most powerful invasion force ever assembled. "Just doing our job," Morrison said quietly into the microphone. "New Austin is under human protection. Always." As the Dakota began the long journey home, Morrison thought about what they had accomplished. One human ship had faced impossible odds and found a way to win. They had shown the galaxy that humanity would never surrender, never abandon their own, and never stop fighting for what was right. The silence that followed their victory would echo across the stars for generations, and in that silence, the galaxy learned to respect the species that refused to go quietly into the night.